Hello, Bharti, we can get started with the webinar.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Shivatsa, is my voice audible?
Yes, Bharti, you're audible.
Okay, so let's get started.
Can I make a co-host?
Just a moment, please. We are having some technical issues. Okay, I hope my screen is visible to everyone. So today, we are conducting the E-Invoice webinar. What we'll be covering in this webinar are the basics of E-Invoice, the legal provisions, how to create an account with NIC, how to integrate your Excel and APIs, generation and validation of E-Invoice, issue of E-Invoice to customer, and what solutions GSTZen is offering in this regard. Okay, before going on to E-Invoicing, let me tell you a little bit about GSTZen. GSTZen got started in 2017, mainly as a compliance software. And since E-Invoicing has come into picture, we have also started providing that service. So besides E-Invoicing, we provide return filing facility. GSTR 1, 3B, 9 and 9C can be filed through GSTZen. Various reconciliation reports are available. You can reconcile your books with GSTR 2A or 2B or sales with GSTR 1. We provide consolidated report GSTR 1 versus 2A versus 3B. We provide PAN level reports and e-waybill report as well. We have some tools available which make your work easier. So the one tool is autopilot, wherein you can perform a single function for multiple GST numbers at a time. We provide the facility of JSON to Excel conversion. We provide various validators wherein you can validate GST numbers and HSN code. Okay, let's take a look at our numbers. We have more than 30,000 users. Lakhs of reports have been downloaded from Zen. Millions of invoices are processed daily. And we have more than 20 crore invoices in our database. Okay. Now, speaking of e-invoicing, why e-invoicing? So why has the government started e-invoicing? So it is basically to increase the ease of business. Most of the people will think that it will cause an additional burden, but contrary to expectations, it actually results in cost saving, time saving, and it is found to be 15 times more efficient. And it also helps in better compliance by taxpayers as it simplifies audit. So all of this has improved India's ranking in ease of doing business. As we go digital, so it increases the ease of doing business. So in e-invoice or electronic invoice. So what is e-invoicing? Hello?
Yes, Bharti.
Sorry, yes. Okay. So let me start by e-invoicing. So what is e-invoicing? Is it everybody is nowadays giving soft copies of invoices. So how does a digital invoice how is it different from an e-invoice? So there are all over people are using different ERPs. Somebody might be using SAP, somebody might be using Tally. So all of them generate digital copies. But when you are submitting it to the government, it goes in a specific format. Now, if you are generating an invoice, a digital invoice, it cannot be directly transferred to any other ERP. But an e-invoice has the same format, no matter from which source it is generated. So it has the option of interoperability. Okay, if we look at an example, if you are in India, your adapter of your laptop might be of type D. Okay, but if you're going to another country, let's say US or Singapore, the adapter, the pin in that might be type A or type B. So now your adapter would be useless in the other country. So in a similar way, the invoice generated in SAP might not be able to go into the system where Tally is being used. So that, but when you're using an e-invoice, you're able to it is able to communicate with various ERPs. Just a moment, please. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay. Now moving on, the progress of e-invoice in India. E-invoicing is not something new. So it got started from 1st of October 2022. Initially, the threshold for the turnover was 500 crore and above. Now on 1st of October, it is for 10 crores and above. So what constitutes this turnover? So in any of the previous years, if your turnover for the PAN has been above 10 crore, let's say in 1920, the turnover was above 10 crore, and in all the other financial years, it has been below 10 crores. So you still are applicable for generating e-invoices. It does not matter that it went above 10 crore in only 1 year. Okay, so so you should not wait till the last moment to start working on your e-invoicing. As most of us Indians do, we tend to put off some work until the last moment. And sorry, does somebody have a question? Or please mute yourself. Okay, now let's
continue.
Let's look at the legal provision. Who is required to issue e-invoices? As per notification 61 bar 2022, those who are above 500 crores were supposed to generate e-invoices from 1st of October 2022. And as per notification 17 bar 2022, the taxpayer whose aggregate turnover is above 10 crore are supposed to generate e-invoices from 1st of October 2022. So relevant notifications and rules. So CGST notification 68 bar 2019 notified e-invoicing, and rule number 46 gives the contents of the e-invoice. Rule 48 provides the manner of e-invoicing. As per rule 48, sub-rule 4, it says that the invoice must be in the form of INV1. Form GST INV1 gives a list of, it basically specifies what has to be given, how the invoice has to be given to the customer. Rule 48, sub-rule 5, specify that if a taxpayer is eligible for e-invoicing and he's not creating the invoice in the form notified in Rule 48, Sub-Rule 4, the invoice will be invalid. And it also says, Rule 48 also says that multiple copies of invoice are not required where you're generating an e-invoice. CGST notification 69/2019 notifies the common portal, that is einvoice1.gst.gov.in, where you create your credentials and you can generate your e-invoices. Notification 60/2020 gives the schema of the e-invoice, which we would be discussing later on. So the persons exempted. SEZ units are exempted from generating e-invoices, and as per Rule 54, an insurer or a banking company or a financial institution, including NBFC goods, transport agency, passenger transportation service, and admission to exhibition or films in multiplex screens, they are exempted from generating e-invoices. Now, this is very important. Which transactions are covered under e-invoicing rules? As you can see on the screen, so whichever lines are highlighted in green, you have to generate e-invoice in that case. Which are highlighted in red, those are the cases where you do not generate e-invoices. So in case of a taxable supply, that is invoices, you have to generate e-invoice, and credit notes and debit notes relating to those invoices, you have to generate e-invoices for that. In case of exempt supply, that is the bill of supply, e-invoice is not generated. Same is the case for delivery challan and ISD invoice. Now, looking at type of transaction. If you're selling business to business, you have to generate e-invoice, or business to government, or in case of export of goods and services. E-invoice is not applicable for B2C invoices, purchase from URD, or import of goods and services. So if you are selling some goods and it is taxable, you're selling to another business person, they have a GST, your turnover is above 10 crore, you have to generate e-invoice in that case. If you're selling exempt goods, you won't be generating the e-invoice for that. Moving on, now registration. So where do you have to register? Earlier, this trial website was given. Now it is no longer required. If you want to test before generating e-invoices, if you want to familiarize yourself with the process, how to generate it, and what could be the mistakes that could be made or the issues that might come up, you can test on Sandbox. And when you're going live, you go on the e-invoice portal, that is einvoice1.gst.gov.in. There are some other tools which are available, which the government has given. So you can generate on trial website. You can check which GSTs are available, are generating e-invoices. You can get a list of that. You can check your own GST number for e-invoice enablement. Is my GST enabled for e-invoicing? Then you can also generate e-invoices through the bulk generation tool. The portal also gives an app to read the QR code. So to scan the QR code and read the contents to verify it. And you also have the option to verify a signed invoice. So you get the response from the e-invoice portal, that is known as an acknowledgement JSON. You can verify the signed invoice using that JSON. So my colleague will be showing that to you later on, what is acknowledgement JSON. Okay, now let's look at how e-invoicing works. So how it is done is, a person or a taxpayer through an ERP or offline tool or any other method uploads an e-invoice through various registrars the portal checks, first it validates the JSON. It also checks for duplication, whether you have already generated the e-invoice for this invoice number against this supplier, like that. And then once e-invoice is generated, it sends back the response, which contains the e-invoice QR code and digital signature of the e-invoice portal. So from there, it also gets auto-populated in GSTR1, and from there it goes into GSTR2A, 2B of the customer. So to look at it in a process more comprehensively, let's look at this. So a supplier generates an e-invoice through various registrars. It checks the validity of the JSON and checks for duplication. So an e-way bill can also be generated along with e-invoice, or after e-invoice has been generated, an e-way bill can be generated using that IRN. It goes to the GST portal. In GSTR1 gets auto-populated. The recipient also, recipients GSTR2A and 2B also get populated from this GSTR1. The information also goes to bankers, and it can also be used for transposting through API in your books. So now let's move on and look at some important terms and definitions. IRN, invoice reference number. So everybody must have heard of IRN, that you, again, when you generate an e-invoice, you get an IRN. Now what is IRN? It is a combination of the taxpayer GSTN, financial year, document type, and invoice number. So a 64 character is generated against an e-invoice. This is unique and it is not required. Nobody can read this. Okay, it is just a way to identify an e-invoice. It is a 64-digit alphanumeric number to identify an invoice. For computers only, humans can ignore this. For example, if your seller GST number is this, financial year 1920, and document type is invoice and number is 2. So the combination of all four of these would generate this IRN. Now IRP. So invoice registration portal. So this is where your information goes. This is the medium through which you are generating the e-invoice. You send the e-invoice JSON to IRP. It will check for duplication and validate the JSON. It will send it to e-invoice registry, and if you are generating e-way bill simultaneously, the information will also be sent to the e-invoice portal. Once e-invoice is generated, it gets auto-populated in GSTR1 after 3 days, and you also get a response, which is digitally signed invoice with QR code. So it is authorized by the government. So IRP is run by the National Informatics Center. The second IRP is proposed to be run by GSTN. It verifies and acknowledges e-invoices. So it hardly takes a few seconds. It won't even take few seconds. It takes some nanoseconds to generate e-invoices and give you back the response. Now, IRP does not hold the invoice information for more than 24 hours. And it also does not give you a list of the e-invoices you have generated. So it will only hold the information for 24 hours, within which you can cancel the e-invoice if you have made some mistake. So as I mentioned, you receive a response when you generate e-invoice. This is an example of the response. Acknowledgement date. So acknowledgement date is the date and the time at which the e-invoice is generated, and an e-acknowledgement number is given, IRN, a unique alphanumeric number to identify the e-invoice, signed e-invoice, signed QR code, and if the e-way bill is generated, the e-way bill details. So now QR code. Okay, so this is digitally signed by NIC. If you scan the QR code, you get certain parameters. It will not give you all the information of the invoice, but the major information like the supplier GST number, the main HSN, the document number, everything you will get by scanning this QR code. You'll also get to know the authenticity of the invoice. So this is the information you get when you scan the QR code. The buyer GST number, document date, number, document type, IRN, item count, main HSN code, seller GST, and the total value. So how does GSTZen integration work? So whether you have an SAP or Tally or any other ERP, so GSTZen provides a TDL which is linked with the ERP. From there, the information is collected. The JSON is sent to GSTZen cloud. We validate the JSON on certain parameters. Then it is sent to IRP government portal. When the e-invoice gets generated, GSTZen collects the QR code and the IRN, and it is given back to the ERP. So you will get the response within nanoseconds of sending the request for generating an e-invoice. Now let's look at the frequently asked questions. So you must not lose sight of the whole picture while you're generating e-invoice. There are many of the people, they start on sandbox, but they forget to switch to live portal when the date of e-invoicing becomes applicable. So we have noticed this in many cases. So you must remember to move on to the live portal. And what would happen in case of change in books versus change in IRP portal. So we'll look at all the major concerns. Okay, so when should you generate an e-invoice? So before moving the goods, the e-invoice must be generated. Or if you are giving, if it is an across the counter sale, it must be generated before completing the sale. And if it is an invoice for services, it must be, e-invoice must be generated before issuing the invoice to the customer. How do e-way bill works? E-way bills work. E-way bills are governed by Rule 138 of CGST rules. So as I said, e-way bills can be generated simultaneously with IRN. They can be generated later on as well using the IRN. IRP supports e-way bills only for invoice. Okay, you will not be able to generate in case of a non-taxable supply. It will only allow for invoice and not for credit notes and debit notes as well. If needed, you can cancel the e-way bill first and then cancel invoice. Okay, so when you generate an e-invoice and e-way bill simultaneously, or you generate the e-way bill later on, and then if you want to cancel the e-invoice, the e-way bill has to be cancelled first. Then only you can cancel the e-invoice. How to print the e-invoice? So IRN and QR code have to be printed in the invoice when you're generating the e-invoice and giving it to your customer. QR code in a digital display is sufficient. You do not need to have a hard copy. So even if you have a soft copy, that is enough for transportation. How to send e-invoice to the recipient? IRP does not email the e-invoice directly to the recipient. It has to be done by the suppliers themselves. So email acknowledgement JSON along with PDF has to be given to the recipient. It is not done by the IRP. Government is in the process of building the system to send the e-invoice directly, but nothing, we have not been informed of such a system as of yet. What details of e-invoice should we save in our ERP? You should save the acknowledgement number, date, invoice, and QR code digitally signed by the ERP. That should be enough. Until what time can I register an e-invoice? So any time before generating the e-invoice, but as of date, the portal has not given a deadline. You can generate an e-invoice for a backdated invoice, but it is recommended that you generate within 48 hours of uh, creating the invoice. Can the e-invoice be cancelled? Yes, the e-invoice can be cancelled, but it can only be cancelled within 24 hours of creation. Okay, so if I'm generating an e-invoice now, it can only be cancelled within the 24 hours. That is before 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. So can e-invoice be modified? No. Once you have generated an e-invoice, it cannot be modified. You cannot change even an iota of information what you have given in the e-invoice. If you want to change the invoice number, maybe you have given the wrong supplier, or you have mentioned the amount incorrectly. So the only option that would be left to you is to cancel the e-invoice. There is no scope for modification or changing anything in there. What if I've generated an e-invoice by mistake and it is not cancelled within 24 hours? So if the 24-hour window has lapsed, what you can do is you can cancel it in your books and do not report it in your GST returns. When you're filing GSTR1, do not report that invoice even though you have not cancelled the e-invoice, but you have cancelled it in your books. So do not report it in your GSTR1. It gets auto-populated in GSTR1. You can simply delete it from there and should not report it. Common errors and how to avoid them. Invalid HSN code. So you might be using HSN codes. You could see the e-invoice portal validates all the details. So the HSN code you might be using up till now might not have been valid. So you can check the validity of the HSN code even either on the GST portal or on GSTZen using the various tools that we provide. PIN code does not match the state. So you have to check the PIN code of the PIN code of each state. What you are giving has to match the GST number. Let's say the recipient GST number belongs to Karnataka. Okay, but in the recipient's detail, the PIN code you have mentioned belongs to Tamil Nadu. In that case, you will get an error. So you can check the PIN codes on the e-invoice portal. So recipient GST is cancelled. When the recipient GST is cancelled, you can no longer generate a B2B invoice for that. Hence, you'll get an error while generating the e-invoice. You can check the recipient GST on the GST portal, check if the GST is still active, and then generate inconsistent amounts. So the calculation might not be right. What you have given, if you let's say you are using offline tools, the Excel, you are calculating it by yourself and generating the e-invoice. So sometimes there might be a human error and you are giving incorrect amount. So in that case, we recommend that you use proper software so that you can avoid human errors. Okay. So e-invoice, invoice in case of SEZ, make sure you are giving the correct supply type. If you are supplying to SEZ, the transaction type should say that this is an SEZ invoice. If you are exporting, it should say that this is an export and not a B2B. Okay, e-invoice technical aspects. How to prepare the e-invoice, communicate with IRP, send e-invoice to customer, and receive e-invoice from supplier. We'll be looking at these processes. So how would you do that? Okay, let's look at e-invoice schema. So the government has given a specific schema which has to be followed by all the taxpayer who are generating e-invoices. There are various sections which are mandatory and many sections which are optional. So mandatory sections like the document type details or the buyer details, seller details are mandatory. Other details like the ship to or the dispatch from or reference details are not mandatory. So if you look at this document, it will show you what details are mandatory. So the seller details, buyer details, and the document details. You can also see the line item details. All the highlighted details in this document are mandatory. These have to go as part of your payload while generating e-invoice. And then if you look at this image, it shows you the optional details as well. Those details which are given in blue are optional, like your shipping address, dispatch address, other export details, or the reference details, maybe the payment terms that you're giving. Those are all optional. You can choose to provide these details while generating the e-invoice, or you can leave them altogether from reporting. So the mandatory fields are 28 and the total fields are 133. You can look at this table to see the total number of mandatory fields and the optional fields. Okay, so this is what I have explained through the image, which are mandatory and optional. Now looking at GSTZen offering. So GSTZen provides various methods through which a person can generate e-invoice. So it can be generated through Excel, wherein we have two methods, secured folder or drag and drop. So it is also known as SFTP. So the file is directly sent from the ERP, which is received by Zen, and we send back the response automatically. In case of drag and drop, you prepare the Excel file, upload it manually to Zen and get the response. We also provide direct integration with various databases, that is ODBC and direct database access. And we have custom solutions for SAP and Tally. And we provide GSTZen APIs, which you can link through which you can link your ERP through Zen with the IRP portal. Now my colleague Srivatsa will be taking over and showing you a demo of our solutions.
Thank you, Bharti. I will start sharing my screen. Bharti, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Srivatsa, your screen is visible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Srivatsa, and I will be demonstrating how e-invoices can be generated through GSTZen. As we have mentioned earlier, GSTZen is a cloud platform, so you can create your account and log in at my.gstzen.in. And after you log into the account, this is the very first page that you will see. This is your GSTZen dashboard, where we will display all the GST numbers that you have added to your account. So today I will be doing the demo for this GST number that you can see here. Primarily, we have three offerings when it comes to e-invoicing. The first is a GSTZen's Excel-based integration, which is what I'll be showing a demo of firstly. The second is our API integration, and we also have integration. You can directly create an invoice in our billing software. We also support Tally integration and database integration. So in order to get started with the Excel-based integration, you have to click the e-invoicing button here. When I click this button, you can see a variety of options. Mainly one is GSTZen Excel, which is what I'll be showing a demo of. It is our template. It is a fixed template with a fixed set of columns, and you can provide the value for the corresponding columns and upload the file back to GSTZen. So let me just show you what the template itself looks like. You can download the template, and as we open the template, we will notice that there are three sheets. First is the about sheet, then we have the sales invoices sheet and the master data sheet. The about sheet and the master data sheet is purely for reference. If at all you have any doubts about a particular field for which you're entering a value, you can always refer to the sheet to know if it is mandatory or optional, if what are the example values and so on. Same with master data sheet. This is also for reference. You can always refer to the sheet. So the main sheet where the invoice entry will be happening is the sales invoices sheet. And as you can see here, there are certain columns that are in bold and columns that are not in bold. The bold columns are mandatory, and without these columns, an e-invoice cannot be generated. And you will see that they are color coded. So all the columns belonging to the same color belong to the same section of the e-invoice schema. So all these belong to the document details. Then we followed by that we have the supplier details. Then please give me a minute. Then we have the recipient details. Moving on to ship to, dispatch, and then finally comes the item details. So broadly, these are the 5 sections. And then towards the end, we also have certain additional columns. For example, we have foreign currency code and total in foreign currency to support export invoices. We also have customer purchase order number and purchase order date. So in our template, you have to fill in the data here and upload the file back to GSTZen. So I will show you a template that has already been filled. I have some sample data here. As you can see, I have 5 invoices here, 1 invoice with 2 line items. I've entered the supplier details. I've entered the recipient details. Ship to and dispatch are optional. If you are providing any one of these fields, then you will have to provide all the fields that are marked in bold. If not, you can leave the entire section as blank. Then coming to the HSN code itself, I've entered the HSN code, product description, UQC, unit price and quantity I've entered, even though it is not mandatory, you can absolutely enter it. And then finally, we have the taxable value, the tax rate, and the tax amounts. So once I have entered these, I can save the file. I can come back to GSTZen and I can either drag and drop the file or I can just select the file. So when I upload, we will firstly show you a summary tab here, followed by an errors tab. If at all there are errors in the data that you have uploaded, we will show the errors here. And then we will show a more detailed description of the invoices. And as you can see there, I have 5 documents here with a taxable amount of 3,050 and an IGST amount of 549. And I have an error here which says for webinar bulk 105, the e-invoice has already been cancelled. So if at all you're uploading an invoice which has already been cancelled, this is how we will show the error. Now coming to the invoices tab, I have these invoices that I can upload. They are ready to upload. Let me show you the PDF before uploading it to the government portal. As you can see, there is no IRN and QR code in this PDF, which means to say this is a regular tax invoice. It is not an e-invoice yet. And also, as you can see from the legend table here, there is a yellow circle next to the customer GST number, meaning the e-invoice has not yet been created. So in order to create the e-invoice, you have to upload it to the government portal, which you can do so by clicking this button. And if you say yes, upload e-invoices, firstly, the invoices will get generated. You will get the message towards the top left of your screen. And you will also see that the yellow changes to green in a short period of time. Now, if I open the PDF, you will see that there is an IRN number and a QR code. So now it has become an e-invoice, and you can verify this by scanning the QR code from the government portal app. So coming back, they've all turned to green, which means we have successfully generated the e-invoice. You can view the invoice level details by clicking on the invoice number itself. You can see that we display the IRN. We also mention who has issued the e-invoice, whether it is the government sandbox portal or whether it is the production portal. So here you can see it says unofficial, which means it is the testing sandbox portal. An e-waybill can be directly generated from here by entering the vehicle number and other details necessary for an e-waybill to be generated. And moreover, you can also cancel the e-invoice directly from here by clicking cancel. Please make sure that this is done within 24 hours. If not, you will have to remove the entry from your GSTR1. So this is how you can bulk generate e-invoices from GSTZen. Now I will verify that this has actually been generated. Let me open an invoice which is still generated. So bulk 104. So I can just download the acknowledgement JSON, go to the government portal and verify that this has actually been generated. I will be uploading the acknowledgement file, and on submitting, it will tell us that this is a digitally signed invoice, and you can see that this is actually the IRN that you will find in the GSTZen portal. And you will see the other details of the e-invoice here. So this is how you can generate e-invoices in bulk through GSTZen's Excel method. Now moving on to the second method, that is through API. Bharati, just a question. Is my voice clear?
Yeah, Vatsa.
Okay. So moving on to the second method that I had mentioned, which is the API method. This will be especially helpful for software developers. GSTZen essentially provides 4 API endpoints. One is to create the e-invoice, cancel the e-invoice, create e-waybill, and cancel the e-waybill. But the functions that all these 4 API endpoints do can also be performed by the single endpoint, which is the generate e-invoice. So this is the endpoint URL. We have to make a post request. In the header section, you have to pass something called as a token for authentication. And in the body, we have the e-invoice JSON itself. And you can see that there's the transaction details, the document details, seller details, buyer details, dispatch shipped to, the item details, and finally the val details, which is a sum of all the line items. And to this API endpoint, if you post the JSON along with e-waybill details in the payload, both e-invoice and e-waybill will get generated at the same time. So now I'm going to show how that is possible through our API. I will just change the invoice number because it's already been generated for this invoice. So I make a post request, and you will see a response message from GSTZen, and this is the response message. The status is 1, which means it is a successful request. The message is IRN generated, and this is the pin-to-pin calculated distance between the 2 pin codes. So this is for the purpose of e-waybill. You can see that we have the IRN number here, the acknowledgement number, date, and also the e-waybill details, such as e-waybill date, e-waybill number, and till when the e-waybill is valid. So scrolling further down, you can see that in the response, we also provide the signed QR code and signed invoice, which can be validated using GSTZen's free tools. We provide tools to validate signed QR code and signed invoice. So you can copy paste this data into our tool, and it will decode the details and give it to you in a nice form, in a human readable form. And scrolling down, you will see there is a field called signed QR code image URL. So all you have to do is call this URL from any programming language, and you will be able to download the e-invoice QR code. You have to only prefix the URL with GSTZen's domain name, and you will be able to download the QR code. Likewise, we also have the invoice PDF over here. Even to this URL, you have to prefix GSTZen's domain name, and the PDF that is available inside the GSTZen account, this is essentially the same PDF. We are providing the link to that in the response. So you can directly download the PDF from here. Now, in order to cancel an e-invoice, all that you have to do is change the URL. The payload remains the same. The headers remain the same. Everything remains the same. Only the URL should be changed to the cancel URL. And the moment you hit send, you will get a response saying IRN cancelled. So now we have canceled the invoice. In fact, I can show the same invoice in GSTZen account, because eventually this invoice will reach your GSTZen account. So I can show it in the sales register. You will see that, as you can see, it has been cancelled. So this is how you can generate e-invoice and e-waybill using GSTZen's API. And now moving on to the final part of the demo, that is generation of an e-invoice through our billing software. So we have a very easy to use billing software, and in order to create an invoice, you will have to click on sales register. And click create an invoice. So what you see here is GSTZen's latest billing software. We have the different sections of the E-Invoice schema here, starting off with the document details, the supplier and recipient details, ship to and dispatch details, the line item details, and any additional information that you might want to add to the E-Invoice. And finally, we also have the invoice details. If at all you want to round off, or if you want to provide an invoice level discount, that can be done here. So let me quickly create a new invoice. So the document number will be auto-populated based on the invoice series. The document type and supply type code will be invoice and B2B respectively by default. And similarly, reverse charge and IGST on intra will be set to no on default. So the only thing you have to change here is you have to set the document date when you are creating an invoice. Now coming to the supplier and recipient details, the supplier details will be auto-populated. The recipient details, you can search by the GST number or by the name, and the moment you click, all the information will be auto-populated, provided this information is present in GSTZen's customer supplier master. Now it is a one-time activity to provide this data to GSTZen. Once you have done that, we will take care of the auto-population every single time. Similarly, if at all you want to add ship to and dispatch information in the invoice, you can select these checkboxes and we will display the form to enter. The method is similar. You just enter the name you enter the ship to GST number or the legal name, and we will show you the information. Once you select it, these fields will get auto-populated. For this invoice, I will not be adding ship to and dispatch, so I will directly go to the line item details. So in the line item details, you have to just select the product. I'm selecting chairs, and you will see that the rest of the information gets auto-populated here. That's because in the product master, I have all this information. You can see that I have chairs and tables, and I have the unit rate and the taxes. So once you have added this information to your product master, it will automatically get populated here when you enter a new product. Now let me just select the HSN code for chairs. I will select it, and I will actually add another line item to this invoice, and that will be tables, and that will be 4404. So I'll scroll to my right and maybe increase the quantity to 2 and 3. And the moment I do this, all the other values will get computed, and you will see that this is the total item value. Now coming down, you can set payment terms. You can also add any additional notes, and these notes will appear in the invoice PDF. And if I would like to provide a discount, I can add the discount amount here. It will get subtracted from the total amount, and I can also add some other charges, and that will get added. So if you want to round off the total amount, you can press this button. If not, you can leave it at the default setting of off. Now, when I click save invoice, the invoice will get generated. Please note that only the invoice has gotten generated. We still have to generate the e-invoice. So when we click on the review button, it will take us to this page where we can verify the details and then go ahead and click this button to generate the e-invoice. Now, this is how you can generate an e-invoice from GSTZen's billing software. And like I said, again, you can generate an e-waybill by clicking this button. Actually, I will generate an e-waybill. I'll select the mode of transport as road and enter a vehicle number and generate the e-waybill. You will see that these details have been populated now. We have the e-waybill number, date, and till when it is valid. And when we click the PDF button, you will see that along with the IRN and QR code, we also have the e-waybill details in the invoice PDF. So this is how an e-invoice can be generated through be it Excel or our API method or through our billing software. So that brings me to the end of my demo. If you have any questions about the demo itself, please feel free to put your questions in the chat.
So you can unmute yourself and ask the questions if you have any questions. Or you can put your questions in the chat box. We'll take up the question. Yeah, you will be getting the copy of the material and the video link. You will be getting it. Question from Surya Prakash: can we change the rates in GST portal? No, you cannot. Whatever is the rates which are there, that is the thing. Neeraj is asking normal Excel sheet. Neeraj, the department government needs a specific format. So there is that is where you have the IRP portal. The schema has been defined. You should have an ability to generate a JSON as per the schema. So you will have to use GSTZen Excel, or the NIC has given a free Excel tool. So you should be able to use that.
So if we are having, sir, if we are having normal Excel sheet, is there any provision we can transfer that normal Excel sheet to the sheet which?
Of course. In fact, Vatsa, can you share your screen once? Go to the Excel. Vatsa?
The Excel template, sir.
Yeah, can you go to the browser?
Sure.
Go to E-Invoice section.
Just a minute.
So after you sign up and in your login to GSTZen account, so you'll be seeing you can add as many GST numbers of yours, different PAN. It doesn't matter. So once you add the PAN, you can select the GST number for which you want to do the E-Invoice. Can you select one GST number, please? Once you select it, on the right side, you can see E-Invoicing button. So let us see the E-Invoicing. There are multiple features. Here is where the first one was GSTZen Excel.
So here is your Excel. What is this your Excel?
Your Excel. If you have your Excel, on the right side corner, you can see your Excel. Can you just click on it? You can just drag and drop your Excel file. As long as you have all the required data in the columns, that's perfectly fine. You just need to do a one-time mapping of the data in the column headers, and you can use even your Excel for generating E-Invoice.
It means, sir, if in my Excel, if I are having only bill number and name of party or a GSTN of the party and only few details, so it is not possible for me to drag and drop in your Excel because it is not having all the columns which you have shown of supplier, recipient, and tax detail and SGST, CGST
if you are
detail.
issuing an invoice, you need to know who is the seller, who is the buyer. You have to have GST number of the buyer, because without GST number, E-Invoice cannot happen. So what is the item you are supplying? What is the taxable value, tax amount? So basic information. You don't need to have all the information. There are some 21 fields. If you have that, that is sufficient. Even with that, you can do the E-Invoice.
Sir, in my, suppose, just sorry to bother you again, in my Excel sheet, because I am using a pharma distribution program in Delhi. And in my Excel, the Excel sheet which generated from my program, it shows date, invoice number, name of my firm, product name, unit, HSN code, batch, expiry, quantity, free quantity, MRP, GST, rate, amount, and total discount and discount amount in rupees. That's all. It doesn't show my GST number and supply my recipient GST number. Okay, I can add that because it's a very simple process. I can add the GST number of myself and my recipient party also. So is it okay?
Yeah.
It's enough to generate a E-Invoice from your portal?
Answer is 90% yes. We can connect offline and do it.
So, sir, the next question will be, is it possible I'm using the same program and I just put 2 or 3 more columns which is required by your Excel sheet, and I can drag and drop in your portal and we can generate E-Invoice?
Yeah, for 100 or 1000 in one go, you can generate E-Invoice, possible.
Okay. Okay, sir. After this demo,
yeah, we can connect offline and we can take it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Please share me your number so that I can talk.
We will share by then. We'll share. In fact, there was
Okay,
one, yeah.
Thank
There's
you.
one question asking how do we create an invoice from Tally? Let me just quickly share my screen and show it to you. So I am showing it from Tally Prime, Tally ERP9 because Tally Prime has an inbuilt e-invoicing feature. Unless otherwise you have some customizations, you are unable to adopt Tally Prime, you can use GSTZen. If you are using ERP9, GSTZen has a solution to do e-invoicing from the thing. Let me pass one simple sales entry. In fact, a couple of people have asked a question, can I do a backdated? Today we are on 16th September. I am posting a voucher for 8th September. All right. So let me just post a voucher and let's say invoice number 18 and okay, I mean here in Karnataka, this is a Haryana party. Okay, let me select some item, random, anything, and some quantity. So I have selected and I am selecting my output IGST. In fact, the quick way to check your configuration is correct. The moment you select the GST ledgers, you should be able to get the tax amount automatically. I have an option to generate an e-way bill. If I want to generate an e-way bill, all that I will have to do is I'll enter the vehicle number. So some vehicle number I'm entering. So a valid vehicle number. And this is a simple invoice that I have saved. So GSTZen provides a TDL add-on. So which you can see here GSTZen. Once I select this, automatically it will give me what are the invoices that are there for e-invoice. So there is an invoice register. I can search for all the invoices which have been there. You can see in different color combinations. Something which is in green indicates you have done e-invoice and e-way bill. Something which is in blue indicates you have done only e-invoice. Something which is black, it means e-invoice is pending. There's other way I can go to e-invoices pending. I can see this 8th September invoice, this is pending. How long it will take? I just need to, on the right side, you can see a button called upload e-invoice. You can see a button called upload e-invoice. All that I'll be doing is I'll say upload e-invoice. So people have a question, does it take a longer time? So like as we are speaking, it like e-invoice got generated. Now, if you can go back to my e-invoice register and you can see this is in green color. 8th September, we have just entered 4,49,000 because you asked for e-way bill. E-way bill also got generated along with it. Let's see that. You can see here earlier all the information was blank, but you can see the information which is there. It says there is an acknowledgement number and the dated 16th September, which is today at 4:01. That is our time. 4:02 is the current time. 4:01 it got generated. And IRN is generated basis the pin to pin. It has automatically calculated the distance as 2,100. The status of e-invoice is yes. Status of e-way bill is yes. In case if I hit a print of this, if I print this voucher, and you can see, if I print this voucher is automatically printing with the QR code and the e-way bill number. So this itself is sufficient. You can even email this. You don't need to physically print this document. In fact, you can go to the e-way bill details and see it that the e-way bill has been generated and it is valid from 16th September, that is today, till 27th September. We know e-way bill is generated basis every 200 kilometers, 1 day is generated. Here you have seen that it was 2,200 odd. So it has created 11 days as the time limit for delivery of the goods. It does automatic creation of the data by itself. So it's a pretty simple add-on and you can do it. Surya Prakash is asking, how do we generate it from Tally Prime? The process is same. If you want to use the inbuilt feature of the Tally Prime, it is free of cost. The add-on which is done with the GSTZen is an additional TDL. It costs you because the data is stored in the GSTZen portal also for your reconciliation and the GST return filings.
Hello.
Yes, Mr.
Hello.
Shan.
Sir, can we generate normal invoice and at the end of the month can upload in GST portal for e-invoice?
Yeah, technically, or I'll say theoretically, it is possible. Today, 16th September, we have generated an invoice dated 8th September. That means you can generate an invoices end of the month. Yes, but am I in compliance of the law? No. Rule 48 sub rule 5 says if you are issuing any document other than e-invoice, that is not a valid document. So I would recommend use the software, generate invoice then and there, not even end of the day. At that moment, you generate the e-invoice.
But which bill we have to supply to the party? Normal bill or e-invoice bill? That e-invoice bill will be generated at the end of the month.
In your normal bill with the QR code. If you see rule 46 in the sub rule R, the condition of the adding QR code has been inserted. So in your invoice, you have to have the QR code. That is the requirement.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Registered persons.
Yes, sir. Next question, please. Please go ahead.
Sir, what should we do if person is unregistered? Then it is compulsory for invoicing
No.
for them.
E-invoice is applicable only if you are making a supply to B2B. That is where Bharti was specifically saying a slide where it was showing that to whom the e-invoice is applicable. A tax invoice to a registered person, e-invoice is applicable.
Is it necessary for all invoices should be e-invoicing?
If it's a tax invoice to a registered person, 100%. Even if 1 rupee, you have to do e-invoice.
Or for unregistered person, it is not compulsory?
Not required. Not at all required. That option is not there.
Okay.
Jahid is asking how to make e-invoice for services. Jahid is like whatever I've shown you in Tally. If I put, let's say if I'm providing an audit service, I select a ledger called professional income and raise an invoice. So there's no difference between services or the goods. You just need to ensure what is the HSN. If the HSN is 99, it is services automatically system knows.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Mayur.
So my question is, I'm a manufacturer and also service provider. So both service for service invoice also invoice is applicable.
If it is to B2B, yes, it is applicable.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
How to deal with credit notes where you need to give reference of the original invoices in the credit notes. So from the GST perspective, there is no obligation that you have to give the reference of the original invoice in the credit note. In fact, even in the GST portal, your table 9, reporting of credit note, linking of invoices is not there. But yes, both for debit notes and credit notes, you have to do e-invoice. If I have to give you a thumb rule of understanding, look at your GSTR1. Wherever you're doing a line-wise data entry in reporting, you have to do e-invoice, except B2C large table file. Jahid, invoice for services like hiring charges, yes, we address that. Yeah, if you have any questions relating to the pricing or if you have your own software, you can definitely get in touch with us. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, e-invoice is also applicable to reverse charge invoice?
Reverse charge outward, yes. If you are a GTA, an advocate, or anyone, if it is a reverse charge,
no,
outward,
it is for inward supply, sir.
No, self-tax invoice, e-invoice is not applicable.
Okay, yes.
In fact, Srivatsa is sharing the coordinates. You can connect to us on this number, or you can definitely write to us if you have any issue.
Sir, delivery challan also covered in invoicing?
Nahi, khali invoice covered under e-invoice. There is no delivery challan for e-invoice.
And in case of B2C?
Madam, B2C, as I said, e-invoice ki zarurat hai hi nahi. Preeti Singh is asking question, invoice number is auto-generated or our own number is okay. Please note, in the e-invoice, your invoice number is generated. In fact, a simple way, in a normal way, you are issuing the document to the customer. In the e-invoice, you are putting a seal and issuing to the customer. That's all. That seal is a QR code you are obtaining from the government portal and issuing it. There's no change in any way. So in the e-invoice system, you are issuing the invoice with a chapa of the government on it. That's it. I guess, Preeti Singh, your question is answered.
Hello.
Yes, Tushar. Yes, Mayurji.
Sir, also applicable to job work challan, which is sending for processing.
See, for a material movement, job work, you are using delivery challan. There's no e-invoice. E-invoice is for the invoice. If you are a job worker and
for sale only. For sale only.
No, job work and sale. I didn't get the question. Maybe you have to put your question.
Yeah, but job work for sending material for processing only. Sir.
Yes, job work charges is the service income. You need to do invoice for the job work charges.
Okay.
Tushar is asking, is e-invoice mandatory if you give post-sale discount through credit note? 100% yes.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, Mayur.
Sir, we are sending material for processing
and return back.
It will be collected after some time after processing. So in that case, there is no need to make invoice, no?
It is a delivery challan, no e-invoice. DT plus e-way bill, rule 55.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Rajim is asking that we are not exceeding 10 crore in 21-22, but in 22-23, 10 crore ka touch ho jayega. So e-invoice kab se applicable hai? October se? Answer is no. E-invoice would be applicable from next financial year, which is 1st April 23. Any other questions? All right. So participants, thank you so much for
one question, sir.
interactive. And
sir, if
there could be many questions, feel free to.
Sir, we have one more question, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Please go ahead.
Sir, if the turnover is less than 10 crores, but we send the e-invoice, means what will happen?
Nothing will happen if the portal is permitting. Right now, they said they will enable for 5 crores and above also. Maybe from 1st October they will enable. If it is enabled, please go ahead and do the e-invoicing for that.
Okay, thanks.
Sir, अपना Delhi office है कोई?
Sir, Delhi office nahi hai, but the team, there's a member in Manisha is working from Delhi. So, but remotely connect करके हो जाएगा.
ठीक है sir. मैं
I have one doubt.
हाँ जी, बोलिए कुछ. Yeah, Naresh, go ahead.
So, sir?
Yes, Naresh, go ahead.
I have one doubt.
We
started a new company now.
Yes.
Last 2 months before. Now we are not eligible for e-invoice, but we can do e-invoice or not. We can do e-invoice or not.
No.
Without e-invoice, we should receive the invoice, correct?
Correct. You will be applicable if your current year turnover exceeds 10 crores, you will be applicable for invoice.
No, the new company started only at April only.
No problem, sir. If your current year, if you are exceeding 10 crores, next year invoice is applicable.
Next year means 2023.
Yes, correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. So if someone was able to connect to e-invoice portal, generated the e-invoices, the question is, can I start? Why do I wait till 1st October? Can I do it now? Answer is yes, perfect. You can go ahead and do e-invoicing now itself. Someone has raised the hand. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Yes, Shrikant Gujari. If we are uploading our Excel sheet, will we put a digital sign or take PDF and manually sign? Preeti Singh ji, GSTZen also has an option to do a cloud signature. That means once you do the e-invoice, they have an ability to create an invoice on your behalf, automatically email to your customers with your digital signature. All that process is automated, and I'm always an advisor of technology. I should suggest people to adopt these things. If the invoice can be automatically digitally signed and an email can go to the customer, it will save a lot of time of yours. That option is there. You should connect to Srivatsa of how you can digitally sign automatically by cloud and the email bhi chala jai automatically. Then Amit Simaria, while sending the material on delivery challan, we have received for job work. What is the amount we have to write in the delivery challan? So the value of the goods is what you have to write. When I'm sending, let's say I am sending this item for some packing. At the time of sending, it is 100 rupees and the packing charges is 10. When the material is coming back, it should be 110 rupees. That's how you should be putting. It is not the job work charges, it is the item value at that point in time.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, Mayur.
Now we are able to try invoicing in GST portal.
I didn't get your question.
No. Before before
Yes,
1st of October.
So there are two portals. You have a live portal, or you also have a sandbox. That is what Bharti has shown. There are two things. Either you can try generating an e-invoice through your sandbox. You can register yourself in the sandbox and make a trial in that. And if you are satisfied, then you can go. So in fact, I'm sharing you the sandbox link. You can try generating e-invoice here.
Okay, so sandbox is for trial purpose, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So before starting e-invoice, we have to register ourselves on the portal. If yes, then we have to create our ID and password, or password for e-waybill will do. Good question. So e-waybill is maintained by NIC. The first IRP is also NIC. So e-waybill login credentials will work on the e-invoice portal. There are other IRPs who are coming. In each IRP portal, you need to have a separate registration. If you are using e-invoice one, e-waybill credentials will work on the IRP portal. Aarti, hope this answers your question. Which is the best application to do e-invoice, Tally or what? Whichever is your accounting software, e-invoice has to happen from that. That's all. There's no questions that you do some data entry here and go to a different software and do a data entry. In fact, error is human. And the moment you are doing something, punching manually, galti ho jayegi. Sometimes the mistakes will become costly. So better do not invent a wheel and use one application for billing, one application for accounting, another application for invoicing and e-waybill. Nothing like that. All has to be in the same application. Whichever be your accounting software, be the application, don't worry, GSTZen has an ability to generate an e-invoice from that point.
Sir, another doubt, sir.
Yes, Naresh.
Here there is some e-invoice. Suppose there is a mistake in e-invoice, how to cancel?
Like how I have, okay, good question. So let me show it. Sorry, I'm cutting your screen. What's that? I'm going back to Tally here. And so this is the invoice.
Sir, here I'm using Tally ERP Gold.
No problem, whatever. Like I'm just showing you, it is applicable in the same. So this is an invoice which I have generated, right? So this is which today we have seen 4,49,000. For some reason, it is, I don't like it. I have done a data entry. I just press a button. I'll say cancel the invoice. Done. Boom. The invoice got cancelled. Where did it go? So I can see in my here. The invoice got cancelled, and yeah, here you can see there's one invoice which got cancelled. We just cancelled the invoice. Everything is cancelled. The information is cancelled, and you can see the status as cancelled. What time
we can't use that again? Same invoice.
This invoice number is done. You cannot use this invoice number.
Once it is used, it is not used again.
Absolutely, you cannot use it again.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Rajim, you are saying we are using Busy ERP. Is that e-invoice facility or not? Definitely, every standard ERP, SAP, Oracle, everyone has the facility of generating e-invoice from your accounting software. Everyone has it. If you are a customized software, get in touch. We will connect with your ERP guys, and we can build a solution within your ERP.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we are garment exporter from Crores, sir.
Okay.
Our last year turnover was 8 crore.
Okay.
Sir, this year applicable or not?
No.
No, sir.
Yes, Shrikant, you have a question? You have raised a hand. Maybe if it is accent.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, Shrikant.
Sir, 1920 is the 10 crores is there turnover, and 2021 is below 10 crores is there.
Still
so
applicable.
This year will be applicable.
Applicable.
Achha, and one more doubt is there, sir. And the Tally ERP 9 and now I am using Tally ERP Tally Prime, sir. So E-Invoicing generating automatically the GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 automatically uploaded, sir.
Yes. Once you generate E-Invoice, the data from E-Invoice connects to the GSTR portal. GSTR 1 data gets updated automatically.
Updated automatically.
Yeah.
The JSON file is not uploaded again.
Not applicable. Nothing. It is done automatically. That is why I said adopt E-Invoice. It is good. It saves a lot of time.
Okay, sir. Right. Thank you.
Sir, in case of GSTR1, automatically E-Invoice applicable, sir?
No, question is not connected. GSTR1 E-Invoice is different. Once you do E-Invoice, the data of E-Invoice is updated in GSTR1 automatically.
Automatically, sir. We should do only filing itself. We should not do again JSON or again anything.
Not required. It is done automatically.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Sir, WhatsApp number is working because I have just done one WhatsApp.
After the session, we'll connect to you. Yes,
okay, boss. Okay.
Yes.
We have received your message, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
We can conclude.
Hello.
One question, sir.
We can take one last question and conclude, sir.
Yes, okay. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. After generating invoice, what is the time limit to update on GST portal?
Government portal will do by itself. You don't need to worry. Between 2 to 4 days, it will happen, and sometimes within 2 minutes also it will happen. But
if we miss to upload that 4 days after,
no problem. No,
okay.
It will take care. Don't worry.
Anytime, sir.
Anytime.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Vatsak, the people are asking to share your contact details. If you can put up the screen or share in the chat if someone would have joined late or who haven't taken it.
Arti, can you please put up the coordinates?
Yeah. All right. So this is the number 7406441122. Feel free to get in touch, and we'll be more than happy to. All right. So thank you, everyone. And any doubts, please write to us. Thank you. Good day.